Good morning. Today is what the Rebbe has coined the name Toiv Tevis, Yud Zayin Tevis. I've told this to people personally, but there's also sichas and letters that refers to it that way. I also want to wish everybody all the good, since today is my name Avodas. When this share is being heard and presented. So, as all they gave it, they should have a slacher, all their yanam, gashmius, ruchnius, lashon hara, ruchnius, gashmius, yochad, and all good things. We're learning Avodas Yom Hakippurim, and we are holding Perek Daled Hey today, plus Hilchos Meila. So we're going to talk a little bit about Perek Hey and even before, but we could Perek Hey. I want to just preface that there's a Sikha Chelik Lamed Vav in Parshas Truma, the third Sikha there. Egeya Reiches Namatraksin. A lot of what's said there will fit into what we're talking about, but we're going to just be aware that if anybody wants, they should learn that, and I'm sure that it'll show up on the WhatsApp. Rambam in Hilchos Avodas Yom Hakippurim Perek Aleph writes, Kol avodas she'oived b'migdei lovan b'fnim beheichel. All avodas that you do with your white begotten. We know that the Kohen Gadol wore white and he wore gold. Gold for the regular avodas, white for the special avodas of Yom Kippur. And he would switch out a total of 5 times, meaning there were 5 switches. And the way to say there, not for now, but but the idea was there has to be 5. Sorech l'asayis and ala seder. All those avodas have to be ala seder. Should be honored. If you're magdim ma'isel chaver lo yoseh klum, then nothing. It's worthless. Now, the lashon Rambam, they love him bifnim, and then he writes the words beheichol. So. Would seem that includes anything in the Heichel. The source of the Rambam is a Gemara in Yuma, Daf Samach. It says, Kol ma'aseh Yom Kippur amur al Seder, and hig the ma'aseh chaver lo yoseh klum. Name Rabbi Yehuda said, Dvar anasim b'gelam b'fnim, Dvar anasim b'gelam b'chutz, hig the ma'aseh chaver lo yoseh. That's only on the big gelam b'fnim. Zok Rashi. What does b'fnim mean? L'fnai u'l'fnim. Oh, so the nice Kalim on the Rambam all go to bat, so to speak, about this Rambam. Lechem Mishnah writes that the Rambam writes with Nim Beheichel. Mashma that he doesn't hold like Rashi, and if Nim also includes Heichel. Chutz means Azora. But it's master for the Gemara that the mile of Nim is because it's Achad Bashana. And that only happens with Nile of Nim. Again, it means other Akashas is a Lebanon. There's Rayas that the reference of B'fnim means what has to do with the Kodesh Kodashim. Kedusha of Chaim Alevi al Rambam, on this Rambam, he says that the Heichel itself has 2 din. The din is separate. That which is on the Paroiches, and he uses the following expression, Shuman HaMizbeach HaPnimi Lefnim, Dinon Kifne. since it's from the Mizbeach HaPnimi moving inward, it already has a din of Lifnai Lifnim. Whereas, and therefore the word Chukah goes on it, and the Seder's Ma'ak. Va'azoyes, Mizbeach Atzmam is like Kilchutz. It doesn't have din of Chukah. So even though the Achrayim will bring this, also quote Reb Chaim, say that it's a very nice svara, but where do we find such a thing? Why is it? Where do you get that gather of Ben Azbeich Lefnim and so forth? Okay. So I think we should analyze what's going on here. And perhaps we can understand not so much where Chaim says that it's from Mizbeach Lefnim, but there is something unique about the Pareiches. And that's why I refer you to the Sikha. There's a lot of mention of this in the Sikha. The Gemara, the Rambam in Hilchas Beis Abchira, which we already learned, Perik Aleph Halacha Hey, writes, Ve'ei Luhein Hadvarim She'ein Iker B'Binyan Havayis. These are the mainstays of the Beis Hamikdash. Oisim Bei Kodesh, make a Kodesh. Kodesh HaKodesh. V'haya Lifnei HaKodesh, Makem Echwa Nikra Ulam, Shloshtam Nikra Echwa. They're all called Echwa. From there you see the Gam Kodesh HaKodashim is called Echwa. So there are those who want to say that will explain the Rambam that the Fnim, the Eichel, is just like the Eichel. In other words, if you want to go the other way, the Rambam holds that the Fnim Eichel is like the Eichel. It's a Kodesh HaKodashim. Because Kodesh HaKodashim is also called Eichel. Okay. That's one approach. I think that Nozzle says that. But I want to suggest a different approach. Yuma Dafnun Gimel Amud Beis says, took the Damapar, Niach Damasar, and he put down the Damasar. Vehiz Mimenu Ala Paroiches, Shekeneged Ha'arim Mibachutz. And he sprinkled on the Broiches facing the Aron, opposite the Aron. And then he goes through the famous statements that we say that Tefillah of Yom Kippur. And then he goes again. Notal Tamasoir, Nirdapavis, and Alberich, she can negate the Oren. So there's a stress that the place of the carbon of the Azoy on the Brechas is connected on. Interesting note. Amma Hilchas Avodas Yom Hakippurim that we learned on Thursday. Gimel Halacha Hey. He writes, Chazer Maze Beheichel Ala Parechas V'Dam Apash. And then he goes to Allah Shekachnem V'Dam Par Allah Kaperes of Negaber. That's why you do Achas Lamal Shavamai. And then a word about the Keneged Ha'aret. Doesn't matter a word about being Keneged Ha'aret. However, in today's Rambam Perek Dalet, when he goes through the Seder HaMaisa, which is kind of an interesting thing. A certain halachas, the Rambam is very into doing a Seder. You know that on Pesach is a Seder. So besides teaching us everything, and teaching us pretty much in order of the way it's up. He goes back, does it in a Seder. Here also, goes back, does it in a Seder. Seder. Okay, it's not for now, but there's an interesting note in that. So he writes, Seder kol ha-maisim should be aimed at kachu. And then he says, Kach noitel damapar ma'ala kan, u'mazim imena ala paroiches, keneged ha'arim. Here he does say, and you understand why before not, Perek Dalet, we talked about the halacha, and here when he goes through the Ma'aser of Perek, he does. There's another ha'ara. In Hilchas Ma'aser Kabbanis, by Purim and Esrafim, Siyam and Esrafim, he writes, Perek Hey, halacha Gimel, Zayrik Dami Kolechim Sheva Azois Ala Pareiches, and there he uses a different lashon altogether. Hamavdeles min hakodesh min hakodesh hakadosh. The pareiches that separates in the kodesh and the kodesh hakadosh. The arba hazoyis al arba kronis mizbech hazen. In fact, the Mishnah that these hazoyis were not just on the pareiches; they had to be connected. Amakim, amachuvin connected badior, had to be a opposite of badior. Then he wants to have the immediately chiddush. And again, to go through the Sikha, you'll see it's hard to say such a thing. That the difference between the Amatraxin and the Pareiches, the Amatraxin does not have the din of Keneged Aron, only by the Pareiches. But he says that should have said, and that's even though Mishnah Melech is not comfortable with that. And we learn it from Pasuk. Okay, so the Rambam mentions three things. Let's go through. Avodas Yom Hakippurim, Perek Dalet, and he writes Ala Kaperes of Nek. Not a word about Keneged Aron. Avodas Yom Hakippurim, I believe Perek Hey, which is Mazim Mena Ala Pareiches Keneged Aron. And Ma'aser Kabbanis, Ala Pareiches and Mavdelas Ben HaKodesh and Kodesh HaKadosh. Three references to the same Avodah. Which is interesting why he has such different references. Ram is very consistent usually. Okay, so perhaps we want to define what's the pareiches. What's the pareiches? So that's what he writes in the Ma'aser Kabbanis. The place, the item that's Mavdelas Ben HaKodesh and Kodesh HaKadosh. Therefore, once he writes it there, he doesn't repeat it. And that's the lashon of the pasuk in Parshas Shuvah. Levdila hapareiches l'chem ben hakodesh ben hakodesh hakadosh. They stay. Then Perek Aleph Halach again. He writes the pareiches because he writes even already what pareiches is. Pareiches is the Malkam Amad, right? Because he wrote that already. Then in Perek Dalet, he's something else. There, in Perek Hey, he writes there when he's talking about Ma'aser Perel, he tells you a new gather that there has to be connected. Where exactly it has to be. So maybe that when it's stressed that it has to be connected to Aaron, is not just a place on the pareiches. It's because it has to do with the Aron. And therefore, will make sense why the Rambam would hold that Azoyis ala pareiches have a din of the file of him. And they're back. And perhaps that the statement Shem Avdelas ben HaKodesh and Kodesh HaKadoshim also is because it's Keneged Aron. In Parshas Bikuday it says, "V'samta sham es arena edis, v'sakoisa ala aron es hapareiches." Zog the Gemara Menachos, that's how the Ches. Rabbi Yemer v'nasata ala mareches l'mein zaka al b'samach. The word al doesn't always mean on; it means near. And Akarche was Samach. If I say, if it's Samach, why did you stress that it has a specific shaykhs only to the pareiches? It was a mabdul between the whole Kodesh and the whole Kodesh HaKadoshim. Because the Ika Kodesh HaKadoshim is Aron.
And there's many psukim that indicate that. Pashas Emor, it says, Michutz laparoiches ha'edus. Rashi writes, what does it mean, Michutz laparoiches ha'edus? Why is it called paroiches ha'edus? Shel lifnei or, shukari edus. Then it means another pshat. Then it means al ner meravi. But that's the basic pshat. So he writes, the Mizrahi asks, and Rashi brings the other pshat that it is ner meravi. Mizrahi asks, I don't understand how you're going to fit the pasuk in according to the Medrash. If you say it's Reiches, that's near the Arain, so it makes sense in the Digduk. So he says, but if you're right, if you say it means the Ner Maravi, it doesn't fit in the pasuk shop. Akabonim. In Hilchos Ma'aseh Kabbanis, when he's saying Mabdelas ben HaKedesh, no, that doesn't mean this. All right, because that's what Kodesh Kadashim is archetypes. Because he can't have Bereiches HaKois Alor, Bereiches HaEdus. So that'll answer the question of the Mishnah Lamelech, why he writes it that way. But I'll cope on what comes out. Now we can understand why the Rambam will hold that even in the Heichel, which is the Azoyas ala Pareiches, those Azoyas are different than the Azoyas on the Mizbeach or anything else that's done in the Heichel. And the reason is because their Aveda is an Aveda in Keneged Aron. And Keneged Aron is not just a place, but that's the Cheftza of the Pareiches. The whole Messias of Pareiches is Keneged Aron. And even though he doesn't always stress Keneged Aron Mamish, but that's what the Pareiches is. That's Aron. It's HaKois ala Aron. But the Pale, the halacha is you have to do it here. So Mela works out good why the Rambam calls it Heichel, and yet it's Ma'at. Shekeach, I got Ner Shabbos, Shabbos Chazak, 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 is Chazek, which goes from strength to strength, from Teres to Ovis to Teres Abonim, to bring the Gula Mitzvah Shleim, not to Nasar Tzvachim. Zeig is on to Shleim.